William, what are you doing?
Judy, I'm lost and I don't know where I'm at.
William, you're in Ireland! And we'll take you to Ireland next on Garden Time. Welcome to Garden Time. We are traveling with 34 of our personal friends. Well, actually, they are Garden Time viewers who have signed up for this amazing tour of Ireland on the Garden Time website.
Now, our next trip is actually going to be to Hawaii this February. You can go to gardentime.tv to get all the details on that trip.
On the show today, we'll take you to some of the stops on our tour, including one of the best gardens in Europe.
We will also be visiting Guinness to see how some of our Northwest hops help make this one of the world's best beers.
But first, we'll take you to Helen Dillon's garden, world-renowned garden author. Well, it's a beautiful morning in Ireland, and I'm with Helen Dillon, unbelievable plantswoman and Irish gardener, and she's also an author, and you've done a timber press book.
It was called Down to Earth with Helen Dillon.
Unbelievable. So what a wonderful connection, and what a beautiful garden this morning. Unbelievable.
Well, the sun happens to be out.
Is that not normal for spring in Ireland?
Well, you should have seen yesterday. It was bloody freezing.
Well, we came today, especially for us. Unbelievable garden. Just love this little rill that goes through the main part of the garden. That's gorgeous.
That happened because I didn't mean to do it, but I started off by making those arches at the end of the garden. And then I did the canal, and Penelope Hobhouse said to me, "Do you realise you've done an Islamic garden?" I said, "No, I haven't, but now you mention it, I have, because I had those big borders down the side. And also I have no fish, because it's all about just the beauty of water. And we have very, very low light here, particularly in the winter, and you get wonderful light reflection and cloudscapes
Beautiful.
pictured in it.
That is nice, but on either side of it there's color. There's just unbelievable color, and some things are in pots and some things are in the ground. So why are things in pots?
Well, 90% of the stuff is in the ground, but what happens here is I have so much stuff, I have I think of it as a stage, and I like to move up really good actors when they're looking good. So when they're not looking good, they can get on with it and live down on the terrace. And when they come out, I bring them up, and I either usually just plonk them on the pavement there, which is Irish limestone at the other side of the canal there.
Oh, it's beautiful. But the alströmerias are just right forefront, right next to delphiniums and roses. And then tell us about this grass that you love today. That's so beautiful.
Well, the grass is just behind me, and it's called Cainaclea conspicua. And it's New Zealand grass. And what's good about it is it doesn't go floppity, because a lot of grasses collapse with us. We can't do the wonderful grasscapes you do in the States or you see in the prairies, because our winters are so soggy. But it has those beautiful seed heads, you can see them in a minute, and they last right through to next March.
Oh, wow. Very architectural.
Very architectural, that behaves itself, and it's absolutely beautiful, I think.
Well, we're having a wonderful time here in the garden, and if you want to learn more about Helen Dillon, you can go onto the website or go to Timber Press website and get her book and take it home. Thanks so much, Helen. It's lovely.
Thank you very much, Lydia. Thank you very much.
Garden Time is brought to you by Portland Nursery, a passion for plants, a nursery for plant people.
Do you want to be green? Do the easy stuff first. Hi, I'm Sarah from Portland Nursery. The U.S. House Energy and Commerce Committee says for every $1 spent on a shade tree, you can save $5 on cooling, blocking the penetrating heat in the summer and allowing the warm rays through in the winter. Dollar for dollar, there's no better energy and money saver than a good, deciduous shade tree. Portland Nursery's professionals can help you make the perfect selection. Portland Nursery, a passion for plants, a nursery for plant people.
In the summer months, water use can double or triple due to outdoor watering. Here are 3 simple tips to help save water and money this summer. Set your sprinklers so that they're watering your lawn and plants and not the pavement. Water early in the morning or later in the evening when temperatures are cooler. Group plants with similar water, shade, and sun needs together. For more water conservation information and tips, check out the Regional Water Providers Consortium at www.conserveh2o.org.
2 stages, 22 shows, one sweet weekend. The 24th Annual Oregon Jamboree, presented by South Pacific Auto Sales, is bringing you the biggest show of 2016. Carrie Underwood, Toby Keith,
Let's have a party.
Randy Houser,
Come on now, we're running.
Old Dominion, Chase Bryant, and so many more. July 29th through the 31st. Tickets on sale now at OregonJamboree.com. Presented by South Pacific Auto Sales.
While we were in Ireland, we got to tour 9 different gardens in the first 2 days of our tour. You've already seen the Helen Dillon Garden, and later on we'll be visiting Powerscourt. But here's some information about the other gardens that we visited. This garden is Cork Lodge. The house was built in the 1820s to designs by William Farrell as an Italianate seaside villa. A Mediterranean grove was planted with a cork tree as its centerpiece. In the remains of this romantic wilderness, the present owner, architect Alfred Cochran, designed a garden punctuated by a collection of architectural follies salvaged from the demolition of Glendalough House, an 1830s Tudor Revival mansion built for the Barton family by Daniel Robertson, who designed Powerscourt Gardens. This is Carmel Dignan's garden. Carmel Dignan, a garden writer and former television producer, has created a beautiful garden in the mild maritime climate of southeast County Dublin. A self-confessed plantaholic, she has amassed an extraordinary collection of plants, from old familiar favorites to plants that are on the cutting edge of tenderness, rarity, and current fashion. Old and new have been plated together with a flair for artistry, and the resulting combinations of color, shape, and texture produce pleasing and innovative compositions throughout the garden. Our second day brought us to Lamb's Cross Gardens. Patricia and Michael McGuire started this gardens at Lamb Cross in 1989. Patricia is a fanatical gardener and has a real sense of form and color when choosing and placing plants. Michael insists that there are as many red flowers as possible, that the roses must be highly scented, and that there are lots of red berries. Patricia is a keen alpine enthusiast, and there are lots of troughs and alpine beds, as well as woodland plants, roses, herbaceous plants, and a variety of shrubs and trees. Emphasis is also placed on wildlife by including plants that bees and other pollinating insects are attracted to. The garden wraps around a modern bungalow with a wildlife pond as a centerpiece and a stream running alongside it. Mount Usher Gardens. This lovely Robinsonian, i.e. informal garden, laid out along the Verity River, measures 8 hectares and dates back to around 1850. The river is spanned by suspension bridges from which numerous waterfalls and superb views can be enjoyed. There are approximately 5,000 different species of plants, shrubs, and trees originating from many parts of the world. The extensive collection of rhododendrons, azaleas, magnolias, and camellias is exceptionally colorful in spring. There are also shrubs and trees planted precisely for their display of berries and glorious foliage, to be admired in the autumn. Knockrose. This healing garden of knockrose is situated 500 feet above sea level, nestling on the shoulder of the Scalp, a geological feature formed by the melting waters of a glacier. Tom and Trish Farrell are the owners and custodians of this beautifully cultivated, unique garden, which is backed by an old mixed forest. Attached to the traditional farmhouse and farm buildings, built on the site of a castle at the edge of the Pale, between the border of Dublin and Wicklow. It has been evolving over the last 70 years. On our last 2 gardens, we dodged many rain showers, but it didn't dampen our enthusiasm. At June Blake's garden, we saw a beautiful garden. She is a passionate plants person who grows from seeds sourced all over the world. She uses her own extensive garden to grow and trial these plants. Her home is a quaint listed Victorian steward's house located in the old cut granite farmyard of Teenode House. The gardens are surrounded by majestic old beech and chestnut trees, and in this sheltered environment, she grows a unique mix of bamboos, ornamental grasses, and perennials. Many of these plants are for sale in her nursery. Hunting Brook is right next door, and it's June Blake's brother, Jimmy Blake's garden. A dynamic and innovative garden set in 20 acres creates a fusion of prairie, tropical, woodland, and valley gardens with an eclectic collection of plants. Many from his plant hunting expeditions are both sensitively and imaginatively composed. The garden offers something for everyone, from lazy woodland walks through the ancient glacial valley and through the remains of a 7th century ring fort where an extensive range of woodland plants are grown. The garden is experimental, exciting, and constantly changing. As you can see, we visited a wide range of gardens and enjoyed every one of them.
Garden Time is brought to you by Capital Subaru, your way on the Parkway.
I've been a Capital Subaru customer for 15 years, and one of the main reasons is because they treat me well and I want to shop local. The service department is excellent, and I always feel like I'm taken care of here. In fact, they call me now even after I've driven off the lot to remind me to come in and get my car washed. That's service. One of the reasons why I like coming to Capital Subaru, actually, they have the dog area, and I can just walk my dog around the whole area and we can enjoy the outside. I got it my way on the Parkway.
Over the 30 years that our family has been in the nursery industry, we've learned that anyone can supply a customer with plants and garden supplies. But it's supplying those plants and supplies backed by a knowledgeable staff that can transform a garden and take it from ordinary to extraordinary. That's what we do at Sagawa Nursery. Why be ordinary when you can be extraordinary? Sagawa Nursery, growing beyond the ordinary.
A destination farm and garden market featuring the very best each season has to offer. Smith Berry Barn offers seasonal farm fresh fruits and vegetables and specialty herbs and perennials. Visit the historic barn for distinctive gifts, gourmet foods, and homemade milkshakes. Right now we have fresh picked or pick your own berries ready in our fields. Here's what we have to offer this week. Centrally located off of Shoals Ferry Road between Sherwood and Hillsborough. Smith Berry Barn, growing good taste from the ground up.
Damien, fancy meeting you here at Standard TV and Appliance.
I had no idea they sold mattresses.
Why, certainly they do. As a matter of fact, they have the largest selection of Beauty Rest mattresses in the entire state.
Huge price cuts now on Standard's all-star lineup of mattresses, including Beauty Rest Black.
I'm going to sleep great tonight.
A hometown favorite since 1947 for appliances, TVs,
and mattresses.
You got it. Standard TV and Appliance.
So I am standing in one of the very best gardens in the world. It's called Powerscourt. It's here in Ireland, and I'm with Alex. And Alex, you are, for one so young, you're the head gardener here, aren't you?
That's right, yeah.
And there is a rich history for this place. So let's tell me a brief part of that before we get started.
Okay, well, very brief history of this place. This is a medieval castle by a Norman family called Le Poer, which is where we get Powerscourt from, which would have been more Powerscourt at the time. So it transferred then from the Norman family to various Irish clans and Irish families that kind of fought over the right to have the rights to live here. That was all ended by the first Viscount, Richard Wingfield, who was granted the lands here by the Queen Elizabeth, which included 46,000 acres. 46,000 acres up north and 600 acres in Dublin City. So he was granted this land, and over the next 340 years his family developed the gardens, expanded the area, expanded the tree collection, the arboretum, and the statues and all the metalwork, along with a vast amount of antiques and pictures that they collected in the house.
And you know, you just took us on a tour of the gardens, and I have to say, how many acres is the gardens itself?
So the acres that we walked around today was 46.
I have to wonder, I mean, this is the Italian garden.
This is the Italians that we're in now, yeah.
It's absolutely spotlessly perfect. What is it that goes through your mind? Like, what is it that when you wake up in the morning you go, oh, I need to get this done today? How do you prioritize all of this?
So basically it's prioritizing the styles of the gardens. It's to get the feel of the different gardens. So with a formal garden and this Italian garden, what people, the kind of feeling that you're trying to make is that everything's perfect. That gardening is perfect. That gardening is all done in straight lines and squares of colour, surrounded by other squares of colour, so that everything is perfect, nothing is out of place, and everything is lined up. Then we move into different styles of the garden that get a little bit more what I would call Robertsonian, so a little bit wilder. So you won't have your straight lines, you'll have more curving arcs, you'll have plants in the distance that will be a focal point. So it's the way I kind of look at the garden, is that rather than the paths leading you around the garden, you're following the plants around the garden. So at major intervals you have specimen trees or specimen plants that draw the person towards that. So they're very much going from a formal setting where it's just straight lines and everything makes sense in their head, to going into more of a wild area where
any blissfully chaotic area.
Exactly, perfectly put. Yeah, where anything could happen and anything goes as well.
So Alex, you certainly have a passion for this place, but a lot of that is because your family now owns this, right?
Yeah, I grew up here. My summers were kind of spent being sent out of the house, told to get out of the house, and I'd come down here and explore all the different parts of the garden, torment the tourists, torment the staff. But as I got older, I realised, you know what, I really love these trees. I love interacting. It's another big point that I always say is a term called biophilia. Biophilia is the need for humans to have interaction with nature or living organisms, and I feel that that's a big part of my life, is to be part of a garden or part of nature or part of something.
And this isn't just my opinion that this is, you know, like a world-renowned, you actually have proof, don't you? What is that?
We were voted 3rd best formal garden by National Geographic. And this was a huge award for us. Something actually that came as a bit of a surprise is we had one of our American visitors actually emailed and said congratulations on coming 3rd, and this was the first information that we heard about it. So yeah, although we are 3rd, we do consider it a little unfair, because the 2 gardens ahead are Versailles and Kew Gardens, which are both state run, have massive funding and obviously a lot more visitors. So we kind of see that possibly we're the first best formal garden in the world, and definitely the best garden in Ireland.
And I would think, as lovely as this place is, what do you have, 50, 60 people that help keep this in shape? Because it's amazingly done.
I would like to have 50 or 60 people. We have 5.
Oh my goodness.
So my staff is 5 guys and myself. Now we will get extra help. We do get, the odd time we'll get students.
Sure.
And I am looking into getting societies and clubs involved with the garden and having them kind of get involved and help maintain as well.
And Alex, as the lead gardener, I'm thrilled in our conversations today that you were telling me it's never just going to be replace, if something dies, replace that. You are actually having great visions of expansion and adding different types of trees and shrubs and plants.
Absolutely, and you know, the way that I feel is that is staying in line with the previous family as well. A lot of people say, you know, with a garden like this, don't change anything. Whatever they created, you should be amazed by it and respect it and do all this. But I feel that that's not what they would have done.
Because if they were still alive, they would be changing
Because if they were
things.
still alive, this place would be probably 3 times as big, with 3 times the amount of trees and areas and stuff like that. So really the way that I feel is that I want to carry on their work, and by expanding and by trying out new trees and new plants and new techniques is actually respecting their wishes and what they did here.
I couldn't agree more. Well, you know, this has been a delightful tour, and it's a beautiful place with lovely people that take you around, and you just feel at home. So if you ever come across the pond to Ireland and you go to Dublin, be sure you make the trip out here and see it. It's really wonderful. Alex, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Welcome to Drake's, not your ordinary garden center. Grab a cup of coffee at Antonio's and wander the nursery for the perfect plant. Check out the landscape design showrooms for ideas, then meet with a designer. Come pick out a bouquet of flowers for dinner or for that someone special. Find something distinctive for your home or your garden. Imagine the possibilities and let Drake's turn them into realities. Drake's 7Ds on Southwest Shoals Ferry Road in Portland. Little Baja is your source for a whole lot of terracotta and concrete too. From bird baths and benches to Buddhas, bears, and fountains, plus the exclusive Baja chimney, we have an amazing variety of the finest in terracotta and concrete containers. Come check out our selection of statuary for any garden theme or setting. So for something for the garden, deck, or patio, come see us at Little Baja on East Burnside in Portland. Find us on Facebook too.
Nestled in the oaks of the Willamette Valley is a nursery that is truly exceptional. At Out in the Garden Nursery, you will find a vast array of shade plants, ornamental grasses, and hardy perennials. Let us help you bring color and texture into your garden. We offer over 100 types of perennials. Many of our plants are evergreen for year-round interest. Plus, we offer the best in personal attention. Out in the Garden Nursery, where we grow great gardens one plant at a time.
Welcome to Blooming Junction, where it's easy to connect with nature. At Blooming Junction, you'll find beautiful, healthy plants, good, fresh food, and a place to regain peace and calm in your life. We have an unsurpassed collection of unique and distinctive plants and the expertise to help any gardener be successful. And we feature Blooming Advantage plants. Come check out Blooming Junction for an inspiring experience in the garden or in the kitchen. Blooming Junction, offering quality plants for beautiful gardens.
So I can tell you it is a real delight for me to be here at the heart of Guinness, and I'm here with Cal, and I want to talk a little bit about the history of Guinness, because it's world known and it has a really wonderful beginning.
Absolutely. Well, it's kind of founded on ambitious nature, if you like. In 1759, a young man named Arthur Guinness moved to Dublin. He was originally from Kildare, just south of this county, and he agreed to rent this dilapidated, this rundown brewery for 9,000 years.
Oh, and how did that work out? I mean,
that worked out quite well.
that had to.
Yeah, got to look at Guinness today, you'd probably say he made the right choice. A lot of people would ask why he committed to the place for so long. On this site, he was promised a free supply of water.
Oh, wow.
At the time, that
makes
was
a difference.
Pretty eventful.
And then you actually have that thing is right here.
This is
the
lease he would have signed in 1759. One of the more obvious things about it, even today, if you look in the bottom right-hand corner, a lot of people can still recognize his signature.
Wow.
Because that appears on every glass, every bottle, every can, every T-shirt worldwide. That's one of our main symbols. We're actually so proud of the ambition that this shows.
Well, clearly, this is not what this started. This is a massive building. How many acres covers this now?
Well, the brewery itself today is coming up on about 60 acres.
Wow.
The storehouse was actually built in 1904 as a fermentation plant. In 1988, it was closed down with Brewhouse 3 being opened, and in 2000, it was opened as this tourist attraction.
And it really, he was part of this business. I mean, he came up with the things that created Guinness, basically.
Very much so. He was at the heart of it, a master brewer. People talk about the marketing, the history, even the ambition that Arthur Guinness showed. At the end of the day, he loved beer. We were founded on beer.
Yeah. And I did want to say one other thing. He got the money from a relative or something that...
His godfather, yeah. Arthur Guinness's godfather was the Archbishop of Cashel. Wow. His father would have actually worked for this Archbishop making beer for church events. And it's through that inheritance, £100 that Archbishop left him, that he started brewing. He invested in a small brewery first in Leixlip, also Kildare, to south of Dublin. And then December 31st, 1759, he expanded operations. He moved to Dublin to rent this land.
And what I love too is there's some great information about the actual ingredients, how they were found, how he created this. So let's go to another location over here.
Yeah, we're talking about what actually makes the beer that made us famous.
Right. All right, Cal, now we are in the room where you show all the different ingredients. And I have to say that I was always under the impression that Guinness was like some weird amount of mystical things that no one could find, but really it's a very simple recipe.
Very simple recipe, yeah. There's 4 ingredients in Guinness, kind of the same as most beers, to be honest. What we do to them makes it a little bit different. You have barley, hops, there's yeast over there, and then there's water behind us. So I'll take you through all 4 of them one by one, even in their stages. So first thing we use in Guinness, barley, all Irish, always has been. Every year, in fact, we manage to use 100,000 tons of it to make our beer. Quite a lot of it, yeah. The next one then, you have hops over in the far side. They are a tall vine-like plant. You'll see them in a lot of places across the US. They do 2 main things. First of all, they're a natural preservative. They're antibacterial, so you're going to export your beer. You need a lot of hops to keep it fresh. That's where IPAs come from. And after that, they're also a bittering agent. So East and West Coast of the States are very good markets for hops. Like Washington State is probably one of the best producers of hops in the world. If you ever drive by a hop farm there, you might actually use for Guinness.
Yeah, there you go. That's fun.
Pretty good one. And Australia is a very good one too.
You also have a weird kind of really secretive yeast though, right?
The yeast is pretty secretive. Yeah, we try to be very open and honest about this process, but the yeast is kind of secretive. We've been using the same strand of yeast now for over 200 years.
Wow. And then, of course,
Water. Probably the most self-explanatory ingredient you can think of. 95% of a pint of beer is water. So it's obviously very important what you put in. Our water comes from the Wicklow Mountains, which are just south of Dublin. You can see them from our gravity bar at the very top. And that is again the same source that would have been used by the Guinness family 257 years ago.
And speaking of that bar at the top, we're going to go up there now because you're going to show me how to pour, there's a science to pouring this and have a pint for ourselves.
So this is what makes it. May as well see the final product, will we?
That's right. So now, Cal, we are literally at the top of Guinness, and we are in what is called it's amazing. It's called the Gravity Bar. I love it because it's very modern, and yet throughout the whole thing you can walk around and see the old parts of Dublin, and that reminds me of how old this company is and how great the beer is made. So tell me a little bit about those processes with what we talked about, that the ingredients are.
I suppose it is a good time to talk about it as well, because from here you can see, first of all the brewery, and then you see the context for the brewery in Dublin City where Arthur Guinness made his name by making this beer. In general, making beer, brewing is fairly simplistic. We've got 6 steps: milling, mashing, separation, cooking or boiling, fermentation, and then maturation, right? So the first thing we do to make Guinness, we take all the barley we saw downstairs, the roasted, the malted, the unmalted, and we mill it, we crush it to quite a fine kind of powder, if you like, kind of like flour. The grist is then mixed with hot water for 2 hours. Then this mixture, again, your grains, your enzymes, your starch, your water, is transferred into a big thing that we call a keeve, and then it will filter it out through the bottom to give you a really thick, really kind of sugary liquid called wort. After that, you take your wort, again, your rich sugary liquid, you bring it over to a big kettle, you boil it at 105 Celsius, so just above the boiling point of water, for about 80 minutes. And during that process, we add in the hops. It's cooled right down to room temperature, about 20 Celsius, in and around that. And we add in the Guinness yeast over at the fermentation plant. Bring it over to a maturation tank and leave it there for about 6 days. All in all, making a pint of Guinness, you're talking about 9 days. So 1 day for the wort, 2 days fermentation, 6 days maturation, which, if you look at the industry, is again quite quick. We're quite good at this stage.
And whatever it is, it makes an absolutely delicious pint of beer, doesn't it?
Very hard to say anything against it, isn't it?
It's very hard to say anything. So now, if you want more information on this, you can certainly go to gardentime.tv. We'll click over to their website, but you really want to make sure that everybody knows the best way to have a pint of Guinness is
at your own pace, in moderation, and of course chilled.
All right,
Sláinte. You gotta get the mustache in. You're missing the mustache. Come on, amateur.
We want to thank you for watching this special episode of Garden Time, and we want to thank Colette and our wonderful tour guide Jennifer, and also Carolyn from Time to Travel Tours for making everything wonderful in Ireland.
And if this interests you, you can go to gardentime.tv because we have an upcoming tour to Hawaii very soon now. Thanks so much for watching today, and we look forward to doing it all again next week right here on Garden Time.
Slán go full! Yay!
The proceeding was a paid program of the Guston Creative Group and its sponsors.